All right. Um, so maybe I can just give a really brief introduction to this workshop as we kick things off. Um, I think some people, yeah, some people are saying on our group chat that they're not able to join, and luckily this video will be, or this workshop will be recorded, so we'll all be able to access this later. And it will be on the Architecture and Development YouTube, and it will be posted on our social media. Um, so you don't have to worry too much if people are not able to make it. Yeah, so I'll just open up for everyone here. Thank you so much for making the time. I know people are coming from different time zones all over the world, and we're able to meet here in one place and have this really exciting discussion with our finalists and with our panelists, experts. And yeah, I'm really eager to see where this conversation will take us. Um, yeah, so I'll just kind of to introduce the theme or the topic of conversation, just to refresh everyone. We're just going to be talking today in this workshop number 2 about the valuing of a project and sort of the impact, kind of pitching how to pitch your impact and how to pitch the value of the work that you're doing. To stakeholders, donors, investors, partners, in whatever context that you're working in, community members. There's going to be an opportunity for us to discuss with this expert panel who has a lot of experience combined in different types of work in kind of communicating the value of community community work to stakeholders, and we'll get to kind of have a dialogue and learn about these different experiences. Yeah, we'll just kind of kick things off here with an introduction first of all the experts. We have 3 experts here who are going to share their knowledge and their experience, and they'll give kind of a background on what they're doing. And then we'll go to each finalist, and you'll have an opportunity to kind of share or pitch your project, the value that it has in the community, and then we'll kind of have a little bit of an exchange in this sort of topic of how do you communicate your projects to stakeholders, and how you can sort of propose a call to action, and hopefully we can get some ideas that we can take into action points, either or all of you can kind of use this information in your finalist projects. So without further ado, I'll hand it off to our experts to kind of introduce themselves and talk a bit about what they do. A couple of them have videos that they'll be sharing. So I think we all have screen sharing. I've made sure that all participants can share their screens. So if Carol, I know you wanted to share a video, and Viviana, you have video as well. So you should be able to share your screen. So maybe if we want to start with Carol, if you'd like to introduce yourself, what you're doing, and share a little bit about your project with us.
Of course, thank you so much, Carly. Thank you everyone for giving me the opportunity of being here and sharing this really valuable space for exchanging ideas and hopefully some interesting insights on how to proceed with the different projects, the amazing projects that you're working with. I also wanted to congratulate you with the different projects. I've been looking at the different perspectives and the different outcomes that you're looking forward in each of them, and they are really, really valuable activities and innovations, let's say. And I'm really happy to share a little bit of my background. So I've just prepared a really quick presentation that I can share with you. So just let me know if you can see it. And a lot of
Yes.
faces around. Okay, so basically,
Good.
hello everyone. My name is Karel van Oordt. I am Peruvian. I work around spatial development and governance. And I started having an experience working with communities, basically working with communities. And that's what I would like to stress here, the relevance of all the different projects that you're working with, basically working with the power of communities to work with people, planet, and prosperity, and the idea of prosperity. This is an example of some projects I've been involved in, starting with working with communities in the Amazonia, Peruvian Amazonia, with a schools project that was really interesting because it led to different other, or to scale up, let's say, this small project within the Ministry of Education to other projects like also inside the Ministry of Education, working not only in the Amazonia but scaling up this to the whole country, and also not only working with the designs, not only working with the communities, but also working with experts, also working with donators, and getting together all the technical expertise and creating platforms that can improve the designs, that can improve even the work within the communities. All this experience also led me later to lead a team that would develop, let's say, one of the models, or some of the models that now Peru is using for their schools, different models in different geographical settings. And I think it's really, really important to emphasize that when we were working on these initiatives, the idea of community was brought always into the table. But I have to say, it's really difficult to see, from one hand, the resources that we need for financing these kind of projects, but also how to involve community in public projects, so how to scale the projects when they are successful. And of course, after these experiences, also working with the Ministry of Housing after in Peru, and working closely with different programs on how to achieve the goals that we're doing with these projects. For example, in public spaces, in generating new housing, large national housing projects. It's really important, the voice, of course, and the resources and the value that communities have. Recently, I've been also collaborating with a couple of global projects working on these basic ideas. So not just working with the communities and working with a community of practice, fostering the knowledge exchange, funding opportunities, and innovation in general within different cities, within different stakeholders. So basically, what I wanted to tell you with telling you a little bit of my background is that I'm really interested in the idea and the value of community, and how innovation could be put and could be scaled up into national or international programs that can help different cities or different communities at the same time. So I'm really, really honored again to be part of this panel or this workshop. And thank you so much, and looking forward to hear. Thanks.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Karel. The work that you're doing in Peru is very inspiring, and I think it's interesting that you're working in kind of the political side of things, and like local governance, and I think that's honestly, in many cases, that's where the action really happens, where the rubber hits the road, and where movements can really make a change. So yeah, looking forward to seeing how that interacts with our participants, and yeah, thanks for sharing. And maybe next we can go to Viviana. Do you want to share next with your bit of background information?
Yeah. So I'm going to do the introduction, and then I'm going to show the video of the project. Okay. So I'm Viviana. I'm from Portugal. Right now I'm in Mexico, so it's early morning here. And so my project in Vietnam started in 2010, so it's a really long time ago. And I spent mostly 10 years working on the project. It started like a really small project. I remember the budget was $5,000 and it was just to do a community house, but a simple wood house. But after some weeks, well-known architect from Vietnam, he asked to join the project and to do really something with high impact and more beautiful, of course. We get some prizes on the architecture, so it was really, really good. And we start working really seriously on the project. At the beginning, we made a lot of charity events, also a bid with some art pieces that some artists from Vietnam gave to us. But then we needed more and more budget because it was a biggest house and we wanted to do more things than only the construction, right? So the most important thing was how to make a positive impact and not just build something and just live. So we apply for private funds and fortunately we get several, so it was really good. The important thing was to show always every step of the project, right? With finance reports, but also a really commitment from the team. I think it's the most important, the team, and to show every step, right? Also some recommendations, but mainly to report and show how the project is going on and show exactly where the money were spent, and then the private funds, they keep giving support. So that was the main learning. And in that project, so we built the house, then we gave organic farm training for the people from this area that is a really remote area in Vietnam. And we also start working with sustainable and responsible tourist agencies, try to bring more tourists, but in a responsible way. And we organize activities at the house. We also organize a kind of museum with the traditional clothes. Again, the idea was how to make this house alive, right? Not only a house for some events, but a different way to have more incomes. And also we work hard working with the main hotels and restaurants to try to create an ecosystem where in the garden that we plant organic food, we could start selling to them, right? This is really it was a really hard work in the sense that we had the support of the community, we had the support of the government, but one important thing is the culture of these people, right? So if they are not focused on how to work in a different way to have different income and not just follow the tourists, that is the main practice there, it's getting hard to make them to do and to work differently. But we had the support with everyone, and we work really for years. Right now, I'm not so connected with the project. So the last time I went to Vietnam, it was 5 years ago. But as I can see in some pictures and some emails that they send me, they keep using the house for events, and then they open it too. So. But yeah, one of my biggest learnings was someone tell me that if you really want to make impact, you need to be almost 10 years in a project, right? So I think this is my main my main advice is, if you really want to be committed and to make impact, just make sure that you have 10 years of your time to keep going on the project, right? So let me show the video to have an idea. We also work hard with some other NGOs from Canada mainly. So that was also really interesting approach. Okay, I think now. Can you see now?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Xin giới thiệu tên tôi là Lý Mẩy Chạy. Theo tôi nghĩ là cái nhà này cũng được xây dựng xong là mình cũng không hiểu là như nào, nhưng mà bây giờ tôi cảm nghĩ là cái nhà này nó sẽ khác hẳn với cái nhà dân ở đây, thì giúp cho bà con ở thôn này, ví dụ là thôn xã Xén và Đội 1 ở đây thì có một cái nhà hội họp thường xuyên và ban họp cho chị em phụ nữ và sinh hoạt cho chị em phụ nữ ở đây. Thì xin là tập huấn này, thêu này, may hoặc là tập huấn về học tập nâng cao về cái gì đó là ở đây, là như thế. Là ý tưởng của dân bản ở đây là muốn ở đây có làm trở thành một cái trung tâm cộng đồng để học tập trong cộng đồng ở đây. Bây giờ chúng tôi muốn để cái nhà cộng đồng này muốn phát triển thật là tốt cho bà con, để làm thế nào để tạo được những công ăn việc làm cho bà con ở đây. Thì chúng tôi muốn phát triển về như là trồng artiso hoặc là trồng những các cái thảo dược và như là trồng rau sạch vân vân. Và chúng tôi cũng muốn phát triển thêm về du lịch cộng đồng ở đây. Thì tôi rất là cảm ơn chị Vivi và một số các anh chị ở Hà Nội thì đã quyên góp tiền cho chúng tôi làm được một cái nhà ở đây. Rất là mong muốn được là các tổ chức phi chính phủ và tổ chức nước ngoài và trong nước để làm thế nào để hỗ trợ và giúp đỡ chúng tôi, làm thế nào để làm được những cái nhà, phát triển được cái hợp tác xã này lên thật tốt. Xin cảm ơn.
Thank you.
Beautiful. I love that video. It's just so like it's so well presented and really, yeah, it's really kind of showcases the beautiful work happening in Vietnam. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I guess last but not least, we have David Cole, who we'd love to hear about what you're doing as well, as our third expert panelist, and then we can move on after that to each of the finalists giving their pitch. So yeah, David, if you'd like to share with us, that'd be great.
Thanks, Kylie, and thanks to Karel and Vivi for showing the work that they've been doing. Really interesting to see. I'd just like to echo Karel's point right at the beginning that really excited to hear what these finalists have put together today. I think when Carly, when we were chatting with Chang Fang, what we really thought needed to really come through from these wonderful projects was that kind of call to action. And so yeah, I'm intrigued to see where this is going to go today, and hopefully learn a little bit more about the projects as well. I'm going to do a little presentation as well. I'm just going to share my screen. Let's see whether this works.
Building Trust International is a global charity that's been in operation for around 10 years. We've taken on projects that relate to health, education, housing, recreation. And across all of these different sectors, we've delivered both support to communities in inception of ideas, creation of briefs, right the way through to completion of construction projects, and then gone back to evaluate those and see how we can go through the process more seamlessly and provide a better service to our clients. Our clients are typically made up of 3 different tiers. So we have like the lowest tier, which we provide a full service for, which is, for example, a migrant school or a refugee school that's currently got a head teacher teaching a few hundred students remotely or in a residential setting underneath a house or within a house, and with that kind of scenario we work with them to provide designs and then go through funding applications and typically then work on the design with the community and deliver projects on site. The next tier up from that is sort of local community-based organizations that are looking for support with construction, and that means that we do a few different things. We can either bring in pro bono support, we can find local design teams and contractors to support their kind of journey through the inception of ideas through to the end. And the next tier up is a kind of multinational NGOs, and typically they have funding in place, they have a brief in place, and we support them through either, again, finding kind of local design teams or providing design teams from overseas to volunteer. Depends on the context of each project, kind of take it project by project. In terms of how we fund and finance projects, they broadly split into 2 areas. So we have kind of external finance, and then we have internal charitable activities. So starting with external finance, it would relate to like that last tier that I talked about in terms of international NGOs who already have funding in place, and we can obviously work out cost plans for them, schedules for particular design and build projects, and then work out the best way of covering costs of both design teams and of contractors. The other kind of external finance is when smaller community groups already have funding mechanisms in place, so they have their donors which they can send designs out to, and again that's something that we can help with, providing conceptual designs, renders, illustrations, what have you, to complement fully formulated BOQs, which then can be used to kind of assess the level of impact that's going to happen and the cost for a project in terms of its delivery. Secondly, we have that kind of internal charitable activities that Building Trust can support, which are, for example, kind of volunteer workshops, design challenges, and self-funded volunteer program. So the volunteer workshops are essentially connected to a particular design and build project. They offer vocational experiences for people within the built environment sector, and in return for paying fees, those fees go towards the actual construction of a built proposal for one of our charitable partners. The design challenges are competitions typically run yearly, and again what happens is we collect fees for entry and then we build the winning design typically, and then the self-funded volunteer program is something which has been on kind of pause during COVID, but something that we're beginning to pick up again now, where volunteers are stationed with particular projects and then assigned to assist in the formulation and delivery of those projects. Moving forward, we're keen to advocate more built environment professionals getting involved in social impact design and in offering their skills. We are keen to tread that fine line between not undervaluing designers, but at the same time, promoting how designers can fit into solutions to some of these global problems that we aim to support. Thanks very much for listening.
We got there. Thanks for the technical support, Daniel.
Amazing. Yeah, great teamwork. Thanks so much, David, for sharing. I just kind of had this thought that we just heard 3 pitches from each of the experts that hopefully will inspire all of you in your presentations to your stakeholders and all of your different projects. But after being inspired by those 3 panelists, I would love to go through each of the project finalists here, and you can have to leave enough time at the end of this workshop for a little bit of Q&A. Maybe each one who's here can give a 1-minute elevator pitch of the value of the project that you're doing, because I know that all the experts have looked at your projects and they've seen on the website the work that you're doing. But if you were in a meeting here and you were giving a quick pitch, maybe you can share what you had written down in your responses in the spreadsheet, and then we can go from there and have a little bit of a dialogue at the end. So yeah, does anyone want to volunteer to share first on behalf of their project, or we can just go down the list? Maybe let's see, the project in Morocco. Do we have someone here from that one?
Yes, that's us.
Yeah, feel free.
Hello. So I'm from Terra Esbel, and Aurora is also connected to the call with us, my colleague. So should I just read what we prepared before, or?
Sure. Yeah, you can read that just to refresh us.
Yeah, so under value and impact, a project promoting women's empowerment, rural development, and local traditions. Over 50 women will benefit from it, but also their families and community. And then the call to action: support the women of Imlul to complete their communal house. In 2019, the community of Imlul started to build the women's house for the association. However, after building the bearing walls, the work stopped due to lack of money. Together with the community, we are joining forces to complete this project.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
That was great quick background. Now, do we want to go to the next? Does anyone else want to volunteer? Or we can, let's see, keep going down. I'm going just by the website. What about the project in Venezuela, San Blas Social Action Center? Is there someone from that? If they're not here.
We can share.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
Hi, hello. I'm here with Paula from Espacio Común from Peru. And the value and impact of the project is to make visible, value and promote the role of women in the neighborhoods of the outskirts of Lima through the construction of a communal and productive kitchen, a meeting place for the community where women can cook and learn new skills. And the call to action is: architecture transforms lives. On the outskirts of Lima, there are more than 5,000 communal kitchen and common pots led by women who work hard for the food security of their families. However, despite their relevance, there have been a few efforts to support these organizations and the spaces where they work in a meaningful and integral way. For this reason, your interest and support is so important.
Thank you. That was amazing. Very good. How about, let's see, so we have the Indonesia project. Maybe Frankie, would you want to go next.
Thank you. I'm Frankie Simanjuntak. I want to explain. Can I share one page to share this one?
Yeah, you should be able to share. Give it a try. Oh, here you go.
Need to see?
Yeah.
Can everybody see? Yeah. This is the project that we already built, but still ongoing. The value and the impact of this project is to educate people how to maintain their environment. As you can see in this image, there is a landslide occurring in 2021. It's big as a field, soccer field, and it's cuts the connection to the village. And then there are many bamboos there. That's why we educate people how to use the bamboo as the building materials. And then we educate them. We gather them into a socialization with the people. And then we make the grand design, as you can see here. We can see the village is already designed with a master plan. Then we starting to build the bamboo hall first, to educate the people how to make the landmark character of the village. And then we already educate for more than 60 to 70 people already how to maintain their environmental through the bamboo buildings. And then we educate them how to cultivate the bamboo so that we can use them for more in the future. And then we're going to build cafe and the villa to for more people to come, and then we can accommodate them to stay in the village and then learn together how to make also the souvenir and the lamp, also many bamboo products, so that the people can sell the products to the all the visitors, and then we can gather more money, and then we can also collect also money from the sponsors and donors in the future. Thank you for the time. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you. And thanks for sharing the visuals. It's exciting to see something that's ongoing, cool progress. How about the Baitu Salam school in Pakistan?
Yeah. Salam. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
All right. Our project is Baitu Salam Welfare School Project. We are designing this project in one of the hottest cities in Pakistan, also affected by the floods. It reaches around 50 degrees Celsius. So after the floods, we realized we did a lot of housing, but we also thought school is also important, because a lot of school demolished, and there has to be a place for children to be a haven for them. So our approach was child-centric, and due to the floods, we also thought we need to cater in this program the food security as well. So we also design a place for become the part of their curriculum, where they could grow food and learn farming again, because there's a lot of devastation has happened. And due to this extreme heat, we've also used the double roof, and in that double roof, we've also thought people could, in times of disaster, they could, take refuge in that. So we achieved a keep very simple, although we're using bamboo, but not as the other countries. They're using really good bamboos, but we're keeping things simple, because so that it could be buildable, and for us, it's adaptable. So we kept things very simple, vernacular, and that's how it is.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Maybe let's see. I think the Bangladesh project was not able to make it. But how about the book house, the China book house?
Yeah. Hi. I'm Peter, and we're Condition Lab. Maybe I also just share an image so that you can see. Can you see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Yeah. So what we do is just a little bit about the organization because it's a little different. We're a social enterprise that basically works within a university. And so the radically different thing is that all these projects are involving students. So students design this and students build it with local carpenters. So it's a radically different, everything's done pro bono. Everything is done with engaging the community in terms of heritage. So, and what we try to do is kind of inject what we call a concept of living heritage, that these carpenters that after the age of 60 can't no longer work in China outside of their village, we work with them in their village. And then we provide the design, and then we work with them to do something that is traditional, but contemporary at the same time. So you can imagine in these villages, all the buildings are now built in concrete. So we go back to timber and we use their traditional techniques, but we produce buildings that are what we think are contemporary. And I think what we also try to do is we nearly exclusively work with children. And what we develop is in the rural China, a concept of learning by playing. All the children go to school, their curriculum is, very good, but after school, they don't have much to do. And so this is where they can go and play in these kind of libraries. So very briefly, that's our pitch.
Beautiful. Yeah, great imagery as well. Okay, great. Yeah, if everyone has shared, or everyone who's here, and anyone jump in if you haven't shared yet. I just want to make sure everyone had an opportunity. But yeah, if every team has been able to give the pitch, then maybe we can like open up and have like a Q&A kind of session based on the questions of like how to communicate the value and impact and how to give a call to action. Does anyone have any like particular questions, burning questions that you wanted to ask the panelists who shared? If not, I can maybe throw some questions.
I have a question. We heard like two kinds of approaches. One that Karel told us from a government approach that implements projects across the country, and the other two projects were more of the civil society, working with the communities, NGOs, foundations to build these small projects. So my question is there any way that the governments can support not a huge project like Carol told us in Peru, but support these small projects that can become pilots to replicate in other parts of the city or the country? And in the other way, if the other two projects, the small projects, have reached authorities to replicate or escalate the project that you have made.
Maybe I can step in and start answering the question of Daniel. I think from national wide big programs, it's quite difficult to answer to all the different diversity and realities that a country has that to start. So so I think retrieving a little bit of the value of all these different projects and the specificity they have is that probably the best scale to work with them is a more local authority or municipality kind of organization. So I would say that the work within cities and communities, let's say local governments again, it's more relevant. Of course, when we have not so strong or not not so strong local governments or local governments with limited capacities, limited assistance, and also limited budget, that it's what we are experiencing throughout the whole Global South, is where the idea of donors and other stakeholders step in. But I would say that the promotion of these kind of projects, of course, it should be discussed at a very high political level. But the key operators to start that scale up of the project are basically the local governments. And there's also in the last years more emphasis on cities and local governments rather than national governments. When talking about this third tier that David was mentioning, this third tier of international organizations and banks with funding opportunities and these international big calls, there's a shift towards two things, not working specifically with only national governments, but with cities and local governments specifically, and also with communities. So community-based organizations, indigenous communities, and other type of more local grassroots organizations. So I think we, of course, need to expect something, or we usually expect something from national and big governments and big frameworks, but also take the action from just kind of making the bridge from a very small project to these kind of organizations is something really important to do. And that, of course, other levels of governance should take in account.
Yeah, I agree with Karel. Definitely local governments are more important to make sure that your execution is not stopped, right? It's mainly this. So for example, in graduate project, we didn't get any fund, but we went there, we explained the project, and we make sure that they are not going to stop it, right? And also something that it's helped us a lot, because we were really small project, is try to work with other NGOs that already work on the field, on the same area, because they have more experience, they have other point of views, and together we make stronger, right? And together going to local government make strong the projects, right?
Yeah, it's a really good question, actually. And it's a question that kind of relates to scale. So I think if you're operating at a local level, then obviously you're going to engage with the local government, you know, as Vivi says. We've had mixed success. I would say that we've had a lot more success of dealing on a ministry level with ministries of environment, ministries of education, ministries of housing and planning. We've not been as successful with, but I think maybe, yeah, I don't know why that is, why that's never really done that next step. I think there's a lot to be said for if you've got some projects kind of in the bank that you can go and show the value of. And I guess that's really what I wanted to drill down into with this kind of presentation was, yeah, how you guys present your projects, because what governments want to see is, you know, more or less, my experience has been, you know, that kind of qualitative kind of value, but also the kind of quantitative value, so you can actually measure the impact of your projects. So it's a really good question, and it's very much related to you know, scaling up based on how you can measure the value of your projects. So yeah, but it's difficult to do.
Maybe I have a question. Is it okay to ask?
Yeah, go for it.
Thanks, Carol, Viviana, and David, for the work. It's really impressive and inspiring. We've been working for now about 5 or 6 years in this field, and we work in a very slow way because we have the benefit of going there with students, so we can go and do workshops for 3-4 weeks at a time and really sort of understand the place. And my question is related to working with communities, because what we find is that if we ask communities and we participate with them and ask them what they need, it's always something, to lack of a better word, it's like firefighting. They always tell us what the problems are related to infrastructure and to sort of fix them, which, you know, with the limited money and time that we have is very difficult. But then if you speak to different people, to the elderly and especially to the young people, they're always talking about hope and vision and thinking outside the box. So what we try, nobody ever asked us to make a book house, but the impact of the book house after it's built is that it serves 300-400 children, and they remember something. They go away from their village being proud of their culture. And it's just this dilemma that we have constantly when we go and do interviews and participate in workshops. It's always something that's very immediate and practical, when actually the social impact comes from a bigger vision, in my opinion. So I just wanted to see if you had encountered the same issues.
I can share my experience on that. So in my case, I asked what they need, right? First, because it's I think the first step to have the community committed with the project. But for example, they said, we want a community house, right? For what? Just to do some local events, or, you know. But from that need, we have more ideas, right? So they didn't ask to train them on organic farm, right? But we knew that they're using a lot of pesticides because they have influence for that, and they didn't ask to work with hotels or restaurants to sell, right, the food, but we gave them these ideas, right? And we also make a mini museum with the traditional clothes and etc. that they didn't ask again, but it make the house alive, right? And also they felt like proud for their culture. So I think you can start from a need that they ask you, but then you can, you know, work on that idea, and with your experience you can bring, you know, more things that they are going to be useful for them. Like your idea of the book house is amazing. So they didn't know that with that idea you bring, you know, really positive impact for the child. So this was my experience on Red Dream.
I mean, I'd just like to jump in. I think there's a few things to kind of pull out of what you were describing. You know, one is the way in which the consultation is handled, and you know, if you go with certain preconceived ideas about what communities want, then you're going to come away with that, and that's sometimes the problem that we see when we engage with community groups with volunteers, is that there's already that kind of preconception about what needs to take place, and it's really important to kind of spend the time, and it's a long time to really understand what should be delivered and what's really going to have the most impact. And I think that's the second part that you've both pulled upon, you know, both yourself, Vivi, and yourself with the book house, is it's a long-term commitment. It's not just going and building something and expecting it to have a function. I mean, we've seen lots of community centers that just sit, you know, like white elephants. So I think that's the key, is that kind of long-term connection there. And I think that will give you that ability to kind of measure, you know, how those facilities are used and to measure the impact of them, like you talk about, you know, how people are using them and engaging with them. I think for you, it'd be probably interesting to know a bit more about, you know, is there a way of quantifying that in some way so that you can use it as data to support, you know, the following projects? Because I think you've got a really lovely system of delivering projects with the students. I think it'd be nice to kind of see whether there's a way of quantifying that in some way, would be my suggestion.
Thanks.
And also, if I can complement into the previous ideas, quantifying and also trying to understand what is from a mindset of what governments are expecting, right? A production chain or the main asset is going. I need numbers, I need impact, and I need it to be sustainable throughout the years. So to be sustainable, the first thing I'm gonna think is that it makes some money, it makes some profit, it's profitable for the community. But then it's not only about profit on money, but also on other kind of profit, or for nature, or for also social innovation. So I would say that when you pitch the project, also think about this idea of productivity to sell it, but productivity in terms of the different resources and talents that you have within the project. That's also something to think about, I think.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, good question for sure. I know we've gone a little bit over the hour, but and we're kind of asking if people had flexibility, and some people had to drop off, but maybe we have room for one more question to kind of wrap up, and then I can close with some thoughts. I did kind of receive one in a direct comment from Amanda, who's on this call and is kind of helping us out about the how to approach different stakeholders versus users versus sponsors, like the difference between your approach and your call to action. I'm curious if any of the experts have anything to say about like how you approach different types of stakeholders with the same value statement. Kind of curious to hear that. And then I can close with some thoughts at the end.
I can start really quickly. I think it's probably the same value statement, but then different messages for different stakeholders. And also is, if you see the target group, if you're talking to donors, or you're talking to government, or you're talking to other same scale NGOs, the message is going to be different. The values are going to stay the same probably, but the message is going to be different.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. I mean, I think it naturally will change as you speak to different people. I think I agree that the idea is to get this down into a concise pitch, which really illustrates why this needs to happen. And I think transparency is key. And I think not being afraid to really ask for what it is that you need. I think a lot of the projects that we saw from AID, the one thing that they were missing was essentially funding. That seemed to be the thing that was missing to get them going. But I think, asking for money and getting money is difficult. I think we've always succeeded in getting time, and time can be money. So if you can't get money, then ask people for time. And that's a way that I think a few of these kind of smaller scale projects could get delivered.
Also, when approaching these stakeholders, or maybe as a reflection more related to how, when you do the project, is you approach the different stakeholders with different spaces, because sometimes it's difficult to have the opinions, as Peter was saying, of the adults, the seniors, and the elderly, and the kids, right? If you don't give voice exactly to the kids, then you would have done probably the cultural center with a generic space, and not the book, this kind of book space. So giving a specific and tailored spaces, both for the approach and for the feedback, it's really, really important also.
Yeah, like making it more of a conversation and adapting to the way that the conversation evolves is probably an important way to give a proposal or call to action. Really good feedback. Well, thank you. I can maybe wrap this up because your time is all so valuable, and we're really thankful that everyone was able to come to this call and kind of have a little bit of a dialogue about this call to action. But yeah, I just want to thank our expert panelists, Viviana, who had to jump off. Carol, thank you so much for sharing. David, thank you so much for sharing. I hope everyone here was really inspired by the presentations that each of the experts gave, and hopefully these questions brought up some more questions, or brought up some ideas that each of our finalists are maybe able to apply to your projects. So this is meant to be kind of a Kickstarter to future conversations with all of your support teams and your stakeholders, and hopefully this helped. But yeah, I just want to, again, on behalf of Architecture and Development, just thank everyone for your time. And we look forward to sharing this video with all of you and the people who are not able to make it, and hopefully that will inspire them as well. But yeah, thank you to everyone who contributed. It was lovely to see you all. And yeah, we'll all be in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So much.
We'll
Thank
talk
you,
soon.
everybody.
Thanks
Get
a
ready
lot.
for the
Bye-bye.
next workshop coming soon. We'll send out more information, but yeah, everyone have a great rest of your day or night or whatever time in the world you're in. And we'll all talk soon.
Great.
Soon,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.